It's going.
Well then, good morning, everyone, and welcome to our third public hearing on the state's biennial budget. We are standing today in front of the Glacier Canyon Convention Center at Wilderness Resort in the Wisconsin Dells, where public education supporters have been lined up since before 7 a.m. to spend the next 6 to 8 hours standing in line waiting to share their 2 minutes of concerns with the members of this critically important committee that will be deciding the fate of Wisconsin's children for the next 2 years and beyond. And the people who are joining me here today are encouraging lawmakers to take action that puts students' needs first in everything they do and to recognize the critical importance of what those needs are. We've been tracking the testimony that these folks have been hearing at the first two hearings, which were held in Waukesha and Eau Claire, and public education, child care, pre-K through 12, higher education funding have dominated every single one of those hearings so far. It has been the most common priority, and over 40% of the total testimony has been delivered in those categories above all others. That is in first place by quite a distance of the second topic. You can follow that tracking in real time at wisconsonnetwork.org/budget and see what the priorities of Wisconsin folks are. And if you don't see your issues there, come on out and testify yourself. Your next chance is going to be in Minocqua on the 26th. You can also submit your testimony in writing by going to wisconsonnetwork.org/budget and see all of the links and more information about how you can make your voice heard. We know that supporters of public education funding have dominated these hearings, and we are inviting people to listen and share their concerns far and wide. We are joined here today by administrators, educators, families, advocates, and others who are speaking out on behalf of the students that they love and that their communities are charged to serve. Over 17 hours of testimony have demonstrated that the needs for Wisconsin students and children are great, but especially so in the areas of mental health, special education funding, and addressing the inadequate, unpredictable, and inequitable funding system that Wisconsin has cemented into law again and again by passing budgets that fail to lift revenue limits and get spendable aid to kids, and that don't meet the needs that districts have statewide. So if you're listening to this and you share some of these concerns, make these words real to folks by sharing the stories of what this means to students in your community and your public schools, and share those concerns with not just the lawmakers who serve on this committee, but your own legislators as well. And then amplify that testimony or your concerns with the rest of your community and urge them to speak up as well. So I am Bourenane, and I'm here representing Wisconsin Public Education Network. I am glad to be joined today by many people from around this region who are intending to testify, and I'm going to read their names in the order that they're going to speak, and I will encourage you to just come to the mic and introduce yourself before you make your remarks. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. Today's speakers are Dr. Rindo, Superintendent of the School District of Reedsburg, Michael Jones, the President of Madison Teachers Incorporated, Madison Metropolitan School District, Jeff Eide, the Executive Director of Wisconsin Rural Schools Alliance, Jill Gaskell from the Pecatonica School Board, Brad Saron, Superintendent of the Prairie Area School District. If she's able to join us, she's delayed by traffic, I believe. Representative Kristin White Eagle, who is a Sauk County Supervisor and representative of the Ho-Chunk Nation, and Jaszy Segarra, College Organizing Manager at Leaders Igniting Transformation, or LIT. Parents, caregivers, administrators, educators, community leaders, public education champions, and school board members of all stripes from around the state have been testifying today, and we represent a tiny sample of what lawmakers are going to hear. We thank these people for sharing their stories with us here today. Dr. Rindo.
Over the last 3 years, the school district of Reedsburg
16% decrease in available dollars from the general fund. To put it another way, if the special education reimbursement rate for this fiscal year, 2022-23, was 60%, as requested in the governor's budget, it would amount to an additional $1.9 million available in Reedsburg's general fund. Now, it might be a great soundbite for the legislature to say that they're investing $1 billion in K-12 education. But that does not even cover, according to the Legislative Fiscal Bureau, the $1.25 billion that school districts across the state of Wisconsin have had to transfer annually from their general funds to their special education funds to cover and support the cost of special education not supported by the state.
I can hear him, but
I fully believe that the quality of any school district or community, frankly in this case the state budget, can be judged in part by how it treats its most vulnerable citizens. Public schools serve some of our most vulnerable children in special education programs. It is long past time for the state to increase support for these required services so that additional general fund dollars can be freed up to support educational opportunities for all kids. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Michael Jones. I use he, him, his pronouns. I am a black person in statistically the worst state in the country to be a black person. I'm a Vietnamese person in a state where English language learners are statistically less likely to graduate from high school than their peers. I'm a special education teacher in a state that went from funding 70% of special education services 50 years ago to less than 25% today. I am a taxpayer and a homeowner in a state that has a $7 billion surplus, but with a legislature that refuses to invest in our starving school system and the students who are served by it. As Wisconsinites, we could once boast that we invested more in our children than the national average, but not any longer. Why is that? Why are Wisconsin schools systemically and routinely targeted for less funding? Maybe it's because public schools are still one of the only remaining entities in our community where all are welcomed and all are served. And when you have community, it's much tougher for politicians to line their own pockets and the donors who support them. When you try to pit people against each other, you tell rurals that the urbans are too woke, you tell the urbans that the rurals are too backwards, and you tell the suburbs both of those lies. It wins votes. It might win a majority. It might even win a supermajority. It's a cynical yet successful strategy to divide us. And when we stay divided, we stay starving. Today, we must understand that our fates are intertwined. What happens in Pecatonica impacts Madison. What happens in Madison impacts Reedsburg. What happens in Reedsburg impacts Sauk Prairie, Sun Prairie, the Ho-Chunk Nation, and the 10 other First Nations in the state of Wisconsin. Not one school district should be so underfunded that they have to go to referendum to keep the lights on. Yet last fall, there were 167 who had to do it. This spring, there were 82. When a gerrymandered legislature holds $7 billion hostage in order to extract even more money from local taxpayers to keep their schools functional, that is borderline criminal. So please listen to my colleagues today. Whether we are educators, students, school board members, administrators, parents, or community leaders, we are all saying the same thing. That not only should our schools be fully funded, but we shouldn't have to exist in a state community where we have to beg for it. Thank you.
All right. This feels a lot better to have the mic in my hands, by the way, because I'm an auctioneer too, so I'll try to go slow. My name is Eide. I'm the Wisconsin Rural Schools Alliance Executive Director. I'm And our alliance has 178 rural schools. I'm going to bring this up closer so you can hear. 178 schools in it. We have over 240 members. And we are really, truly dedicated to meet the needs of our students and our communities within them. We have over 800,000 students, public school students in Wisconsin at this time. Education plays a critical role, and our state's biennial budget will define the state's priorities and identify the educational values that we give to our kids, our parents, and our communities. Like everyone else here, looking for that significant predictable spendable revenue with special education increase, per pupil increase, support mental health, and tap into that low revenue limit ceiling. There's a gap there. Unfortunately, it's been mentioned already, our K-12 education has been declining, our per pupil K-12 education has been declining for decades. We are now 11th. We moved from 11th to the 25th. The Legislative Fiscal Bureau identified that we need a per pupil increase of $1,500 in this budget cycle to cover the last budget cycle and the current budget cycle. As already noted, special education is underfunded, and school districts collectively transfer over $1 billion from their general fund to provide these students' needs. Our governor's budget proposal supports special education costs at 60%, which significantly reduced the amount of money transferred from special education for special education costs, and in turn would support all students. In addition, future investments in mental health need to be broad-based. We need to move away from grants and address school mental health challenges. Schools need flexible, categorical aid to meet needs of all school districts, all kids in the school district. Here's an interesting one. We have had the low revenue limit ceiling challenges since 1993. A quote from Education Week in 1999. In 1993, the legislature imposed revenue caps on all 426 districts in Wisconsin as part of an initiative to increase state aid to schools while easing property tax rates. Great. In essence, Wisconsin agreed to boost the state's government spending in schools in return for freezes on local property taxes. As noted above, we have missed the mark on the inflationary increases. And unfortunately, in 1993, local school revenue limits varied among school districts. And 30 years later, the revenue limit gap between lower and higher school districts has not adequately improved. Just like our private sector, our districts face enormous challenges related to workforce shortages. I would be remiss not to say that recruitment and retention programs focused on Grow Your Own and Educators Rising should be supported and funded. We all know that Wisconsin is a great place to work, live, and raise a family. Let's work together to keep it that way.
Hi, I'm Jill Gaskell. I am a school board member in the district of Pecatonica, and I'm also on the board of directors of the Wisconsin Alliance for Excellent Schools. In Pecatonica, on April 4th, we passed a referendum to add on and refurbish our elementary school that had not had any significant improvements in over 50 years. Playground itself was 30 years old. It passed by 14 votes. $18.8 million, and it passed by 14 votes. Pecatonica was considered a low-spending district under the revenue caps. Since 1993, we have passed 8 recurring referenda. 9 now counting the capital referenda. We feel lucky to have a supportive community that is largely populated by farmers and retirees and people who can afford houses an hour away from where they work. So we passed the capital referendum, but we needed to hold an operational referendum as well. What good is a shiny new school if you can't afford to put teachers in it? Or a new STEM area if you can't afford the materials to do the experiments. The legislature has squeezed the life out of public schools, yet our communities repeatedly vote to increase their own taxes to support our schools. What is wrong with the legislature that they can't read the room? People want their schools supported and thriving so that the communities that they're in can also be thriving. In our two communities, Hollandale and Blanchardville, populations 180 and 815 respectively, the school is the heart of the community and they are well aware of it. We have a building in each village, and if it closes, that village will lose so much business. So I'm asking our elected people to follow the lead of their constituents and support our public schools.
Thank you. I'm Brad Saron, Superintendent of the Sun Prairie Area School District, and I am here along with these amazing teachers behind me, kids, board members, administrative staff, from Beloit to Bayfield and from Sheboygan all the way over to Prairie du Chien. This is really about the kids, because funding the resources necessary to support kids is also funding the resources necessary to support a thriving Wisconsin. And I just want to start there. Yes, we need to catch up from the last budget, and to make progress on this budget, we need at least $1,510. And yes, special education aid needs to be funded such that the mandates that we have, we need to fulfill those in a way that respects the needs of our students in our classrooms. Now, what would that money be spent on? That money would be spent on maintaining class sizes across the state of Wisconsin, giving kids what they need at the times that they need it. We need to have competitive wages for all of our staff. Yes, our teachers, and also our custodians, and our bus drivers, and every single one of the staff members in our hallways, on our fields, in our courts, across the school districts of the state of Wisconsin. We need to fund our counselors, so that way we can make sure that every single student in the state of Wisconsin has an academic career plan, so they can envision their future selves and how they fit into a career that they love and where they can contribute to the economy. We need to fund substitute teachers, so that way when our students, when our staff are ill or they are on leave, that we have adequate staff members that come in and fill in for them on their behalf. We need to respond to the mental health needs of our students. And last, we need to support student safety in all of our schools across the state of Wisconsin. We are asking for this support. The time is now. Thank you.
Heather.
Good morning. My name is Jaszy Segarra. I am the College Organizing Manager at Leaders Igniting Transformation. Today we are here with our college students and all of our staff to urge the Joint Finance Committee to invest in our now. Students and youth in Wisconsin need accessible and affordable higher education. I was one of the first in my family to attend a four-year university and graduate. My family cannot help me like many students here today, and we need more financial aid assistance. The UW system just passed a 4.9% increase for tuition, and a lot of students already cannot afford it. I myself had to work 5 jobs just to put myself through school. That means I worked from sun up to sundown. I worked on the weekends. I didn't have time for any other things, and that was hard. That is the story of many others who are here today, myself, and many more who are to come if the Joint Finance Committee does not invest and approve the UW system's request to invest $24.5 million to expand the Wisconsin Tuition Promise Program that will help students whose families make under $62,000 be able to go to any UW school across the state. So we are here to talk about that, as well as equitable funding for K-12 schools and protecting democracy policy, which will make UW campuses across the state early voting locations, eliminate barriers. For example, I attended UW Stevens Point, and I had to walk 20 minutes to my polling location so I could vote early on election day. That should not be the case for any UW student, any Wisconsin resident. So invest in our now, and that's why we're here today. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Christine Christensen. I am part of the Reedsburg educators. My superintendent already spoke. The school board president is also here, so we really are Team Reedsburg. And as much as I have to say, it's pretty much ditto from what everybody else said before me. We need funds. We need funds to support mental health education. We need fair and equal pay across the board so that our paraprofessionals, our custodian maintenance staffs, and all of our educators stay and work and keep going. We need, cost of living, fair increases. So it is imperative that we support Governor Evers' education budget. Thank you.
Thank you. And my apologies for not introducing you. First of all, thank you to all of our speakers for taking time to join us today so that we can try to get this message to a wider audience than just the members of this powerful committee today. A lot of people say schools just ask for money all the time, and there's not a single one of us today who's here for the money. We're here for the kids. Our kids are not okay, and they are counting on us to meet their needs, as is our constitutional charge and our moral obligation. The state is in a position to deliver those needs and is sitting on the most massive surplus we've ever seen and could fund every single agency request and still have $5 billion of surplus left over. What is the excuse that they're going to use not to do that? We must deliver on meeting the needs of our kids right now, and there is no time to wait. Thank you to everyone who helped us spread that message this morning. Thank you to everyone who is testifying here today or online or in writing or however it is that you want to make your voice heard. But speak up, be heard, and deliver your message for the kids to make sure that their needs are met. Thank you.